Hey guys, folks! Tonight we're diving into a grim but gripping journey. Picture a world teeming with deadly plagues, brutal punishments, and bowls of porridge so bland they might as well be rainwater. We're about to peel back the layers on life in the Middle Ages. And trust me, Hollywood's been over-glamorizing it with those majestic castles and dashing knights. The truth, you probably wouldn't survive a single day back then. So, before we kick off, smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I'm genuinely curious. Now, dim the lights, turn on a fan for some background noise, and let's embark on this time travel adventure together. Welcome to the year 1325. Good news, you're still alive. Bad news, you've just woken up in the darkest era of human history, the Middle Ages. And from the moment you open your eyes, you realize you're not alone. Not because of a warm family member snuggled beside you, but because of fleas, lice, bed bugs, and a fat rat perched on a pile of straw, eyeing you like it's the landlord and you're an unauthorized tenant. You're lying on a bed, if you can call it that without crying. It's really just a prickly bundle of straw on a creaky wooden frame that could snap with a groan at any moment. And you're not sure if it's the wood creaking or your own spine slipping out of alignment. No mattress, no pillow, the window, no glass, just a hole hacked into the wall, letting wind and dust waltz freely into the room. The morning air is vibrant, a heady mix of yesterday's sweat, smoke from a half-dead coal fire, and a whiff of local specialty from the chicken coop next door. Every breath is an extreme sensory challenge. Congratulations, you're now inhaling the Eau de Middle Ages fragrance. 100% pure, no dilution. You rub your eyes, not from sleepiness, but from dust. Your house doesn't know the meaning of soundproofing or dustproofing. Every outside element, wind, sand, mosquitoes, and unidentified critters, has an all-access pass to invade at will. You close your eyes, wondering if this is a dream, but the thunderous snoring of your brother next door confirms this is reality. To your left, your mother is curled up under a tattered piece of rough cloth. To your right, your brother is sleeping with his arms slung over his face as if wrestling a nightmare. Your youngest sibling is curled up like a log ready for the fire. And the hen, yes, there's a chicken, sleeps soundly at the foot of the bed. It seems to be the only household member who got a good night's rest. To sum it up, 6 humans, 2 chickens, a limping dog, countless nameless insects, and 1 shared bed. The room is more cramped than a dorm during exam season, but no one complains because there's no space for complaints. You try to get up. Your knees creak like a rusty gate. Your back aches. Your foot touches the floor and feels something wet. You hope it's just rainwater from last night. Hope is all you've got. You open the door. Well, it's not that simple. The wooden door is rotting, held together by rope and rusty iron hooks. Pull too hard, it breaks. Pull too lightly, it sticks. You tug, shake, and pray. After a few seconds of wrestling, you succeed. Your reward is a blast of cold wind to the face, carrying the smell of burning straw from the neighbor's house and a sharp twinge in your spine. Outside, the sky is grey. Not the dreamy, misty kind, but a mix of kitchen smoke, ash, and brooding clouds. The only light comes from a crack in the wall, where a few sun rays sneak in before being defeated by a festival of dancing dust. You step out of the house, the chill seeping through your thin straw-stuffed tunic, and realize something unavoidable. You need to relieve yourself. Not in a romantic, meditate at sunset way, but an urgent, very urgent situation that, in modern times, would have you sprinting to the toilet, lifting the lid, flushing, and pretending nothing happened. But sorry, this is 1325. Toilets don't exist. Flush valves are myths. And privacy is as vague a concept as copyright law back then. Here, going to the bathroom is a communal event. No one bothers calling it delicate business. It's a habit, a custom, an essential part of the daily survival cycle. And you, clutching your stomach, wincing like you've been cursed, are faced with a choice, the bucket or the field. The bucket is familiar, sitting behind the house, shared by the whole family for a week without being emptied. It smells like a failed family reunion, but at least it's close. The field, meanwhile, is vast, poetic even, if you don't mind being caught mid-squat in an unflattering pose. You choose the bucket, simply because your legs refuse to carry you farther. You slink over, avoiding your mother's gaze as she stokes the fire. Your sisters yawn, the hen scratching the dirt, and your brother still rolling over in his dreams. The bucket sits there, green with moss, chipped on one side, containing a mix of liquid and solid matter of indeterminate origin. You don't bother asking who's contributed since the day before yesterday. You sit down. The rough wooden rim presses against your skin, making you shudder. Not from shame, there's nothing left to lose, but from the fear that it might trap you. Wood back then wasn't sanded, painted, or skin-friendly. And of course there's no toilet paper, no bidet, nothing but hope and a very responsible hand. This is when you start reflecting about things you took for granted in the modern world, like clean toilets, soft two-ply tissue, or at least a door with a lock. Now, you're bearing both your soul and your lower half under the dim light of dawn and the smell of smouldering straw. A rustle comes from the bushes. Wind, a rat, something worse. You don't look back, you speed up. A wise choice, because a few seconds delay could make you the next contributor to the lurking rat's feast. You finish. You exhale with relief. Then you realize the next problem. There's nothing to wipe with. You look around. No rags, no leaves, no ash. Just your trousers and survival instincts. You handle it manually, in the most literal sense. Here, dexterity isn't just for weaving. It's for personal hygiene. You pull up your trousers, telling yourself, it's done. The worst part of the day is over. But no, the worst is yet to come. Emptying the bucket. Yes, because you're the last to use it, and the unwritten village law decrees, whoever fills it, empties it. You lift the bucket, hands trembling. Its contents slosh like fine wine in a noble's goblet, except the smell is anything but noble. You walk as if carrying a holy relic. No tilting, no tripping, no thinking about what's inside. The path to the village dung heap is a narrow, slippery trail of mud, footprints, cow tracks, and things you don't want to identify. Each step is a prayer. You reach the pit. Before you is a massive, bottomless hole, both literally and spiritually. You tip the bucket. A splash echoes, like the sound of your wounded soul. You turn away, not looking back. Who could? You return, washing your hands at the well. It's ceremonial at best. The water might clean off dirt, but bacteria just relocate. No soap, no hot water, No guarantees. You wipe your hands on your trousers, the most common act in this world. Worthy of UNESCO intangible heritage status for the age of poverty. You sit on a rock, staring into the distance, or at least at a dry piece of straw at your feet. You've just survived a high-stakes mission that tested both body and spirit. You're proud. You did it. And you swear you'll never take your porcelain toilet for granted again. You might even clean it weekly or hug it when stressed. But before you can rest, your stomach growls, a menacing growl that says, "It's breakfast time." You shudder, not from hunger, but because you know, in 1325, every meal isn't a culinary experience. It's a survival game. You step into the kitchen, or rather, the corner of the house with a fire pit the size of a water bucket. Hanging above it is a pot, blackened, chipped, and definitely not food safety certified. Inside is a thick, murky brown liquid, unclear if it's porridge or glue, steaming with the smell of the past. It's called pottage, the national dish of medieval peasants. Sounds cute, but in reality, everything edible in the house gets thrown into the pot. Dry beans, soft turnips, flavorless wild greens, stale breadcrumbs, even things that used to be food but now, who knows? You scoop a ladleful. Scoop is a generous term. It's more like prying out a sticky clump that clings like wall plaster. Half of it's cold, half of it's boiling like lava. Consistency? Sorry, that's not a thing here. You sit by the table, a warped wooden plank propped on two cracked barrels. The family's gathered. Your mother portions out the kids' shares with the chipped wooden spoon, blowing on it and saying, "Eat fast, we've got fields to tend." A phrase more familiar than "good morning." You take your first bite. The taste? Non-existent, or rather, a blend of wilted leaves and disappointment. Not salty, not sweet, not sour, not joyful. A punch to the taste buds. If your tongue had emotions, it'd be having an existential crisis. You try the bread. You could call it bread if you've never tasted bao buns, sandwiches, or anything made with flour and compassion. The loaf is hard as stone, dry enough to crack lips, and sometimes gritty. Yes, gritty. Because flour was ground by hand with stones, and stone dust was considered a mineral supplement. You glance at your drink. It's ale, a watery, unfiltered, barely fermented beer. It tastes like dishwater left in a bucket, with a metallic aftertaste and occasional floaters. But you drink it. Clean water is rare, and ale, at least, hasn't killed you on the first sip. You look around. No forks, no spoons. Just hands, the all-purpose tool since the Stone Age. Everyone uses their hands. No one complains. You scoop pottage like you're touching fate itself. The sticky mess spreads across your fingers, drips onto your tunic, then soaks into your trousers. But no one cares. That's the standard. Your little sibling beside you gnaws on bread crust like they're sharpening teeth. A fly lands in your bowl. You ignore it. Everyone ignores it. Flies here are extra protein, not worth complaining about. You think of townsfolk, blacksmiths, carpenters, court cooks. They might eat eggs, a slice of salted meat, or crumbled cheese if they're lucky. But better here just means slightly less bad, not Michelin star quality. And nobles? They breakfast on fresh milk, honey, pastries, but then die of gout or tooth decay. You sigh. Turns out everyone suffers, just in different ways. You force down the last few spoonfuls. Your stomach no longer distinguishes between fuel and torture. It just knows something's going down and needs to deal with it. Fast, clean, no questions asked. You wipe your hands on your trousers,
a sacred ritual, and stand up. So does the family. No one speaks, no one complains. Just the sound of heavy footsteps, the door creaking open, and the dim morning light calling you to the fields. You leave the house, the taste of that porridge lingering in your mind. You're not full, but you're not dead. And in the Middle Ages, that's the benchmark for a successful meal. You take a deep breath, then cough from the straw smoke. No matter. Breakfast is done. Your stomach is stable. Time to get dressed for the fields. If you're thinking of color coordinating outfits, hiding flaws with tailored pants, or wearing comfy, flattering shoes, you're in the wrong century. In 1325, fashion isn't about style, it's about survival. The priority, wear what's still intact and fits. Style, no one cares. Cleanliness, that's a spiritual matter. Colors, the palette is earthy. Shades of gray, brown, beige, and once was green. You open the wooden chest, actually an old grain crate doubling as a wardrobe. Inside, one outfit. Yes, just one. Not because you're minimalist, but because you don't own another. You pull out an old linen tunic, once white, now the color of porridge mixed with mud. It's frayed in spots, stiff with accumulated sweat. The outer layer, if you have one, is a hand-woven wool cloak, heavy as a wet blanket, smelling of last month's undried laundry. You slip on trousers, patched and repatched, held up by a rope belt. No zippers, no buttons, just faith and knot-tying skills. The waistband squeezes your stomach, somehow both constricting and loose. A medieval miracle. You don't wear underwear. The concept of undies is a luxury yet to arrive. People here believe in natural ventilation, sometimes due to poverty, sometimes because no one taught them otherwise.
You bend down, rummaging for shoes. If you're lucky, you have a pair of leather shoes. Not tanned leather, just dried, hard as wood hide that might mold in damp weather. No insoles, no arch support. Each step feels like stomping on frozen meat. Painful, cold, and uncertain if they'll hold their shape after a day of ploughing. No socks, no knit caps, scarves, or windproof jackets. If it's cold, you wrap a scrap of old cloth around your head. If it's sunny, you wear a straw hat. Misshapen, holy, smelling like a goat barn on a hot day. You scratch your head, a reflex. Not from deep thought, but lice. Everyone has them. Like owning a pet you don't feed, yet it thrives. You catch one strolling across your forehead, pinch it between your nails, flick it away and think, could be worse. You check yourself in. No mirror. Just a blurry reflection in a puddle-filled basin. You don't look like someone heading to work. You look like a peasant from an ancient caricature. But you have no choice. Here, clothes are gear, not a personal statement. You recall, the last time you washed was unclear. Clean water is scarce. Washing means drying. Drying poorly means cold. Cold means coughing. Coughing means death. So, better to leave it be until the heavens send a divine sign. Women fare no better. A long dress, cinched with a cord, a headscarf, no makeup. Rosy cheeks come from the sun. Sweat is perfume. Noble women? They still scrub their own pots if the maid dies of plague. Survival trumps status. Fashion isn't about self-expression. Standing out is weird. Dressing differently from the village is suspicious. Bright colors? You might be called a witch. Wrong outfit? You could end up in the town square, tested for faith. You step outside, blending into a crowd, dressed to the same standard. Porridge-colored, sweat-scented, rough-textured,
with the sound of coarse fabric scraping skin. No one judges, no one notices. Everyone's too busy scratching their heads or keeping their pants up. You meet your friend, dressed identically. You exchange a glance, a nod. Another Monday tunic, huh? And a wry smile. A smile that needs no words because everyone gets it. Surviving is luck enough. Beauty is for the next life. If it's a festival, you might dress up, tie flowers in your hair, wear a bird bone necklace, or don your least tattered tunic. But no, today's a work day. Your clothes, like always, are the tattered armor you wear to battle life. You take a breath, smelling old fabric, old sweat, old hope. You adjust the rope belt, lift your left foot from the mud-caked shoe, and brace for the day. Fashion, my friend, isn't about who you are. It's about you're still alive. And sometimes that's a miracle enough. You step out, barely stretching your back when something small, wood-caked and screaming zooms past your legs like a living arrow. It's a child, alive, and by this era's definition, it's playing, sucking a dirty thumb and chasing the neighbor's chicken. Welcome to a medieval childhood, where childhood isn't a phase but an awkward limbo between babbling and full-time labor. No kindergarten, no first grade, no birthday cakes with twinkling candles. Here, kids are mini adults. No pay, no rights, no one asking their opinion. If you're that child, you wake at cock's crow. Not for cartoons or TikTok, but to fetch water from the well, gather firewood, or shoe cales off the straw pile. Your first job starts the moment you can walk without falling. You don't go to school. Schools are far reserved for rich boys or future monks. You learn from life, where the test is carry 15 liters of water without spilling, and failing means a whack on the backside with a broom as rigid as the era's moral code. No toys, no remote control cars, no Barbie dolls, no Lego. You get a brick, a stick, or, if luck smiles, a dead rat. You play, throw, until someone cries. Simple, effective, brutally realistic. Free time, none. You and other kids are the family's workforce. One's plowing with dad, another's helping mom cook pottage. The third's sent next door as an apprentice servant at age 7. 3 kids sitting idle, probably a few more. If you're a girl, life moves faster. By 10, you're learning to cook, deliver babies, sew, set bones, and prepare for marriage. Yes, marriage. 12 is the legal age to tie the knot, though the knot here is more like barn straw. You might think, surely some girls protested. Some did, but protesting meant quietly crying as parents bartered dairies like trading chickens. A child's voice was as light as dry leaves, blown away by tradition's gust.
And if you're a boy dreaming of knighthood, forget it. Farm boys don't touch horses, let alone armor. A wandering minstrel? Sure, if you're fine sleeping under bridges and playing for stale bread. No dreams? Perfect. That's the core survival skill. Children's health. Fragile as rural Wi-Fi today. They die from colds, diarrhea, whooping cough, or just hunger. Up to 50% don't reach 5. If you have 6 siblings, 3 inherit hand-me-downs. The other 3 don't need them anymore. You asked, didn't anyone love kids? They did, but it was survival love. Love meant giving them work early to toughen them up. Each child was an investment. Girls for dowries, boys for monastery tax exemptions. No one said, just study hard, when fields needed plowing and wood needed chopping. Heartbreakingly, this world has no room for prolonged innocence. Kids grow fast, not because they're guided, but because they have no choice. Obedient ones survive. Dreamers? They're stories told by parents the next winter. But it's not all tragedy. Kids still laugh when someone slips into manure. They find joy in an extra spoonful of porridge. They call Mom when they cut a finger, even if Mom's busy patching a torn tunic. They're tough, like weeds on a rooftop, clinging to life without watering. If you, reading this, ever sulked because your parents didn't buy you an iPad, try a day as a medieval child. Just one. No Netflix. No new clothes. No whining. When you return to the present, you might gift your parents a dishwasher and a thank you for not making you mend nets at 4. Medieval kids have no superheroes, just each other and themselves. You've eaten breakfast, stuffed your stomach with gluey porridge and gritty bread, and dressed if throwing on sun-bleached rags counts as dressing. Now, no more excuses. You've got to work. Not the self-growth kind, the don't starve by dusk kind. No carpool, no digital alarm, no morning coffee with buttery croissants. You grab a hoe, slip on rock-hard shoes, and trudge to the fields, where there's no labor contract, no flexible hours, just an inherited duty. If you're a peasant, almost certainly, you start work when the sun's still yawning and stop when it's fed up shining. 8 hours a day is a luxury concept. Here, a workday stretches from dawn until you can't see your hands, or until you collapse mid-field. You grip the hoe, step into the field. Mud clings to your feet, cold, wet, heavy as reality itself. Each swing digs not just earth, but the last scraps of your energy. You reap wheat with a dull sickle, pull turnips barehanded, and pray this season doesn't tank because the sky throws a tantrum. If you're a craftsman, blacksmith, carpenter, potter, things aren't much better. By a hell-hot forge, you hammer until your hands shake like a modern coffee addict. Each horseshoe, each nail costs sweat, blisters, and sometimes blood. Cut your hand? Rub ash on it. Torn skin? Wrap it in old cloth. No sterile bandages. No antiseptic. No one names your illness correctly. Just hope your body knows how to heal itself. If you're a woman, sorry, you don't get a work day. You get a work life. You wake before the chickens, cook breakfast, clean coop muck, wash clothes, sew, cook, tend kids, clean stalls, deliver neighbors' babies, and still roll up your sleeves for the fields. Everything's on you. No pay, no breaks, no right to complain. You get used to bone-deep exhaustion. Your back bends like a willow. Your hands go numb like they're poisoned. Thought modern office work was tough? Here, sitting is a reward. Sleeping is a privilege rarer than a good harvest. Counting on days off? Sorry, leave is a future invention. Fever? Keep working. Sick? Plow slower. Broken arm? Use the other one. Dead? Thanks for your service. The spot where you fell will grow potatoes next season. Got eggs? Pay a share to the church? Turnips? Tithe to the landlord? Wheat? Great. Don't forget the harvest tax. After deductions, you and your family get some pottage and a reminder to keep living. Dream of changing jobs? Forget it. No LinkedIn, no retraining, no career switch. Born a peasant, die a peasant. Suddenly rich. Neighbors will report you for possible devil dealings. Overtime? Always. When it rains, when drought hits, when pests ravage crops. You don't work to get rich. You work to live. And living here is a war of attrition. Bloodless but relentless and wordlessly desperate. You look up. The sun's barely halfway across the sky. Sweat drips, blurring whether it's perspiration or tears. Wind blows dirt in your eyes. Flies treat your face like a buffet. You recall complaining in the modern world about 30 unpaid overtime minutes. Here, 30 minutes of rest is rarer than a knight's armor. Yet, something keeps you going. Your family's out here too. Parents, spouse, kids, all toiling, all weary, all forcing faint smiles over porridge and barren fields. You don't work for money. You work because there's no alternative. So you bend down, keep digging. Not because you love it, but because stopping isn't quitting. It's betting your life. After hours of digging, hoeing, hauling wood, you think you deserve mercy. But the sky doesn't care. In the Middle Ages, the heavens are a moody child, hurling hail, scorching sun, or icy fog that chills your bones. And no one can sue the sky. No weather forecasts, no smiling meteorologist with a chart. Here, you check the weather by stepping outside and seeing what slaps your face: wind, rain, dust, or the stench of moldy straw. Today's normal: drizzle, biting wind, 200% humidity, and mud caking your knees. You wade through puddles. Your shoes are now smelly sponges. Each step makes a sad squelch, like the sigh of someone who forgot to harvest the last wheat patch. You slip, face plant in the dirt. The smell of nature here isn't the fresh grass of romantic history films. It's fermented hay, mixed with manure, sweat, and despair. You stand, shaking it off, or rather, turning yourself into a mobile mud statue. Think summer's easier. Wrong. Sunlight punishes like the sky's out for revenge. No sunscreen, no wide-brimmed hats, no fans. You wrap a sweat-soaked cloth around your head, stand in a cracked field, and try not to faint. Each sip from a wooden bucket is a gamble between hydration and diarrhea. Sweat pours like rain, drenching you from neck to heels. Minutes later, it dries, crusting salt on your skin like itchy armor. You scratch your neck, your nape, only to shed more sunburned flakes. The heat makes everything reek: sour mud, rank bodies, clothes that have lived too long. Then winter, the season of paralysis. No heaters, no thick blankets, no hot water. Just an extra straw-stuffed tunic and a faint hope that your lice keep you warm. Your fingers freeze like logs. Your nose runs, but you're too weak to wipe it. You shiver, not just from cold, but hunger. Winter means starvation. You check the pantry, empty. You gnaw old bread crusts, chew roots, drink gutter water. Once, your village nearly starved after a July hailstorm. Crops died, potatoes rotted, and the chickens mysteriously vanished, likely early sacrifices to the altar. Floods, check. Droughts, check. Winds that rip off roofs, always. Snow so deep you're unsure if you're walking on a road or someone's grave. You don't get natural disasters. Every day is a disaster. Medieval folk believed weather was God's will, divine punishment, demonic omens. So, when it got too harsh, some poor old woman got dragged out, tied to a stake, and burned. A backward solution that didn't save crops, but made villagers feel productive. Weather didn't just kill plants, it killed people. Lightning strike, dead. Icy slip, dead. Lingering cold, dead. Pregnant in a rainy season. Your and your baby's survival odds were barely better than a bug-eaten leaf. Think rain's romantic. Here, it means a leaky roof, wet bed, spoiled pottage, damp clothes, and a cold even while holding a hoe. Rainwater floods the well, carrying manure, making the whole village clutch their stomachs. You sang rain falls so softly. Here, rain hammers, winds howl like banshees, and you whisper prayers to keep the kitchen roof intact. Yet you survive. How? No one knows. Maybe you're stubborn. Maybe your body's used to harshness. Or maybe you simply have no choice.
You learn to shield your head with straw, wrap leaves around yourself, dry clothes on hot rocks, and pray at every thunderclap. Medieval folk weren't superheroes. They were just too busy to collapse. They plowed through rain, endured snow in rags, faced gales and scorching sun with one weapon, relentless stubbornness. And you, chewing roots, slipping in mud, rain-soaked, hands frozen, realize nature isn't a backdrop. It's a cold, indifferent, sometimes cruel companion. You don't conquer it, you live with it. And if you're lucky, you survive until next season. After a day battered by weather, the only reasonable thought is a cool, clean sip of water, pure as a bottled water ad. But you forget, you're in 1325, where clean water is as rare as good teeth. You trudge to the village well, the hub of activity, gossip, laundry, bathing, and unofficial wastewater dumping. Everything liquid revolves around that deep hole. People rinse mouths, wash hands, scrub clothes, clean chamber pots. All of it. A closed, risky cycle. You lean down to draw water. From afar, it looks fine. Up close, you spot tiny creatures. Maybe leaves, maybe bugs, maybe something that once lived. You sniff. It smells of metal, moss, and an indescribable aftertaste. But you drink. You're thirsty. You have no choice. And your immune system, if it's still working, is probably used to daily microbial shocks. You ask, why not filter it? Sorry, no filters, no boiling, no ionized purifiers. Medieval folk thought if water wasn't pitch black or floating with dead rats, it was good enough. Bubbles. Maybe it's sparkling pure.
You reassure yourself, it's probably fine. An hour later, your stomach rumbles like a war drum. A hot churn below your navel with violent digestive protests, like your organs are staging a revolt. Congrats, you've just drunk what moderns call death in every drop. Live near a river? Not better. Rivers are where villagers wash clothes, bathe, scrub dishes, dump animal carcasses, and occasionally offload responsibilities. The water's brown, pungent, and murkier than WHO's worst nightmares. Bathing leaves you wondering if you're cleaner or poisoned. You ask, why not drink ale? Exactly. The whole village does, even kids. Fermentation kills some germs. Ale's the national drink. Not intoxicating, not tasty, but at least it doesn't kill you on the first gulp. A cloudy, weak ale beats diluted rat urine. Many village illnesses stem from water. People die of dysentery, typhoid, diarrhea, chronic stomach aches. No one knows why. They blame curses, demons, or sleeping with your head facing west. Someone dies suddenly after drinking. The village heads to church, not the well. They pray, offer chickens, light candles, and hope. They're not next. Rainwater, not safe either. It runs off roofs caked with bird droppings, dust, dead bugs. You catch it, boil it lightly, drink. 3 days later, you're scratching like mad from a rash, allergic to romance. And no soap. Hand washing is a future concept. You rinse in plain water, dry on trousers that were never clean. Bacteria, fungi, and survival faith coexist on every thread. You sit by the door, clutching your stomach, eyes drifting to the water ladle hanging crookedly on the well's edge. You think of the modern world. Taps with pure water, hot-cold showers, triple-filtered bottled water. Then you look at the cracked, mossy ladle with something slimy inside and laugh. You laugh because you're still alive after all this. And because you just drank from that well again. Because when water's your only lifeline, you don't get to be picky. After sipping death waiting at the bamboo straw's end,
something feels off. Maybe it's your stomach's war cries, or maybe you remember it's Sunday, the day for God. Or rather, the day the village drags itself to church to atone, pray, and pay the survival fee. You change into your best outfit, the tunic with fewer holes than your plowing one, and walk to church. The church is the village's grandest building, imposing, cold, and built to make you feel small, sinful, and broke. You step inside. The air smells of incense, mold, and unwashed bodies. The high ceiling and colored glass windows cast light on the pulpit like God's eyes judging. Hey, confessed last week yet? People here don't have much to believe in except God and the sickle. Believing in God's easier. No plowing, no reaping, just fear. Fear of hell, sin, sudden death, or paying with your soul for cursing the chicken yesterday. The priest is the village's VIP, not for knowledge, but for holding the ticket to paradise. He preaches in Latin. You don't understand a word, but you nod solemnly as if each syllable is hammering your soul. Then the important part, tithing. Starving, sick kid, shared half a turnip yesterday. Doesn't matter. You're reminded God loves you, but he'd love you more with a little cash. No money. Offer eggs, stale bread, straw bundles. Too poor. Promise to do church chores. Sweep, fix the roof, clean the stables for piety's sake. You ask, what's the point? Plenty. The church gives hope. Live well, suffer, believe in God, and after death, you'll reach heaven. No mud, no stomach aches, definitely clean water, but only after death. The church explains natural phenomena simply and blamefully. Crop failure. Villages were too sinful. Floods, witches, plague, God's test, dead infant. Angels called them back. So you bow your head and accept. Arguing with weather's pointless, but arguing with God. Foolish. Sometimes someone preaches differently. Says the church exploits. Says God doesn't need money. Those folks often disappear without a word. Maybe baptized early or taken for private prayers. Lesson learned. Faith is sacred, but don't ask too much. You kneel, clasp hands, and pray. For next season's harvest, for your siblings' fever to break, for the cow not to drop dead. You don't dream of riches, just surviving the day. And you believe, because without belief, there's nothing to cling to. The service ends. You stand, knees aching, pockets lighter. You step outside, sunlight blinding, heart lighter. Not from absolution, but from completing a vital ritual. Pain to keep suffering, yet not losing hope. You don't know if heaven's real, but in this muddy village where survival wears people down, the church is the only place hinting there's a reason for it all, even if it's just to endure a bit longer.
Your stomach's killing you. Not the skip yoga class kind, but the doubled over, sweating, organs filing for divorce kind. In modern times, you'd call an ambulance, get a CT scan, blood tests. Here, in 1325, medicine's just another branch of faith. And luck. You limp to the healer. A bearded man looking like a tangled bush, wearing a long-beaked bird mask and a black cloak, because it looks scholarly. He doesn't examine you, just checks your face, feels your forehead, asks cryptic questions, then declares, weak yin pulse, stagnant blood, needs bleeding. And so, they slice your arm, or neck, or wherever a pulse beats. They believe all illness comes from bad blood piling up. The fix? Drain some, like you're a clogged sink. Survive? They claim credit. Die? You were too weak for their brilliant cure. Fever? They say you're burning inside, so they cool you. Methods include river baths in winter, Mud packs or pickled cucumber compresses, no joke. Still feverish? Maybe you're possessed. They switch tactics, hang charms, burn incense, or worse, pin you down for exorcism prayers. Seizures? Condolences. They'll think you're demon-possessed. You might be tied up, starved, or beaten until the demon leaves. Outcome varies. You might recover naturally or pass peacefully, branded as victory over evil. Pregnant? Midwives have no degrees, no gloves, no ultrasounds. Just experience, shaky hands, and a belief that booze helps every birth. Difficult delivery? They pray. Baby doesn't cry. Not stillborn. It might be pre-condemned. Buried. No coffin. Medicine. Mostly herbs, animal bones, urine, and mystery powders. Recipes pass orally. Foot pain. Slap on dandelion leaves with clay and fierce belief. They also use manure, cow, goose, sometimes human, for skin infections. Surgery. Yes. No anesthesia. No sterilization. No tool counts. You lie on a wooden table, bite a rag, and pray the knife wielder's hand is steady. Post-op. They stitch with hemp thread, smear ash, and wait, survive, miracle, die, God's will. Worse for women. Mental illness often gets you labelled a witch. Symptoms include odd dreams, babbling, or simply being single too long. Result? Arrest, torture, and if you float in a water test, guilty. Think modern medicine's expensive. Here, a healing stone for stomach aches costs half a meal, though it's just a rock, blessed by a monk. Faith heals more than science, because science hasn't arrived. Ask, how do you cure illness? They'll say dead serious. Fast for 3 days, rub holy ash on your chest, and don't stare at the moon. No one laughs. Laugh, and you're deemed mad, treated with beatings and hymns. The takeaway? None. Every illness might be from sin, immodest clothing, or your great-grandfather killing a black cat. They don't know viruses. They just know you're suffering, and they'll make you suffer more, hoping you'll heal. And absurd as it sounds, you believe. In a world without penicillin, vaccines, or Google for symptoms, faith is all you've got. If you're in 1325 and think love leads to marriage, sorry, you're in the wrong genre. Here, marriage isn't romance, it's a transaction. A contract without signatures, binding until the grave. Or someone else's grave, if you're lucky enough to outlive it. You don't choose your spouse, your family does. Specifically, your parents negotiate with theirs. The trade, not lavish dowries, but a few plots of land, a cow, or a promise. We won't take her back even if she screams to come home. If you're a woman, married by 14 men, maybe wait until 16th. Wed early to breed before plague or war buries you. Life's short, so marry fast. No time for getting to know each other. Just marry now, understand later. The wedding, grand or simple, depending on whether you're a peasant or noble. But one thing's universal. No one asks if you want it. Brides tremble not from emotion, but from wondering if the wedding night starts. In the horse stable. No honeymoon. Post-ceremony, the bride follows the groom, starting a new life with his mother, sisters, brothers, chickens, and a chore list longer than a European map. The groom, back to the fields. Love, nice if it happens. No one cares if it doesn't. Sex, duty, not choice. Kids, as many as possible, though the first 3 might not survive their first winter. Survivors become labor assets, those who die young, buried in the garden corner after a brief prayer and a tearless glance. Women can't divorce. Husband beats you, endure. He leaves, you raise the kids. He dies. Remarry if someone buys you. Love doesn't matter. The land tied to you does. Adultery, harsh penalty. Women caught stripped.
a stake, paraded through the village. Men may be a light fine, because it's a man's nature, per the era's wisdom. So, if your husband cheats, swallow it. You cheat, prepare for the pyre.
Still, true love exists. Secret, stolen, tear-soaked, like in novels, but often ending in pain. Society doesn't favor love for love's sake. Loving the wrong person risks honor, home, even life. Thought medieval love was like fairy tales. Reminder, most fairy tales were written post-Middle Ages by survivors dreaming of what they never had. Why marry? No choice. For family, survival, because society says so. People wed not for love, but to avoid being odd. And odd here easily gets you branded a witch. Yet, don't lose all hope. Amid constraints, exhaustion, and duty, something like love can spark. A hand held in fatigue, a saved bowl of porridge, a wordless glance. Not Shakespearean romance, but real affection, within a harsh era's limits. And that's enough to keep going, even if just day by day. Together, you've survived rain, hunger, illness, baptisms, and loveless weddings. Now you deserve a break, at least a day. Luckily, the village has festivals, a chance to forget pain, aching backs, and the chicken stolen last night. Medieval festivals aren't weekly Netflix specials. They follow the church's calendar, tied to saints, harvests, or mandatory celebration days for something no one remembers. Maybe a harvest feast, a rain prayer, or a commemoration of a saint's gruesome execution. Villagers don't care why. Just give them ale, food, and music. By morning, the village buzzes. The smell of roasting meat, rare enough to overpower manure, wafts from kitchens. People wear flower crowns, their best clothes, the least torn ones. Kids run, grinning, though caked in mud from head to knees. The festival starts with a mass. Got to get God's permission to party. You nod solemnly, but you're thinking of a loaf twice the usual size. Prayers done. Villagers swarm like bees from a hive to the main event, eating and playing until you forget who you are. Games are dangerous but fun. Arm wrestling, climbing greasy poles, tug of war, horseshoe tossing, or chugging ale until you can't tell head from feet. Weirder performances include stilt walkers, clowns in skirts, or a hunchback pretending to be a captured demon. You join the procession, costumed folks with flags, circling the village, shouting about faith and crops. Someone trips, but the crowd marches on. No one wants to ruin the vibe. Everyone knows laughing today is for forgetting tomorrow's tears. Then the highlight, outdoor theatre, a tattered cloth as a curtain, amateur actors, plots about God, devils, or a love triangle between a man, a goat, and a farmer. Silly or not, the crowd roars and claps because there's no TV, no TikTok. A stage slip keeps the village gossiping for a week. Festivals are the only time you eat meat until full. Whole pigs roast, there's baked bread, salted stewed veggies, maybe cheese. You don't ask where the meat's from. It might be last week's sick animal. But you eat, lick your fingers, because a full day is a day worth living. As the sun sets, bonfires flicker. Music plays, not symphonies but bone flutes, goatskin drums, lutes snapping strings every 3 minutes. Everyone dances, adults, kids, hunched old men, like they've forgotten toothaches, lost fields, or runaway wives. You sip one ale, then another. The buzz makes you laugh louder, talk more, and suddenly, life doesn't seem so bad. Festivals let people be themselves, or a less miserable version. Here they're not peasants, servants, or folks bled for bad blood. They're just people,
truly living, if only for a day. When night ends, you stumble home, belly full, legs weary, mood light. Tomorrow brings labor, mud, illness, poverty. But you've had one night to remember you can still smile, and sometimes that's enough to keep going. Living in a medieval village, life revolves around dirt, dung, crops, church, and wiping hands on trousers. But sometimes something odd happens. A stranger appears, carrying a scent unlike the usual cow manure. They're merchants, travellers with mud-free shoes, exotic goods, and gossip. They know city news, foreign lands, even tales of sea fish big as barns. You gape, not because you believe, but because it's the first time this year someone didn't talk about weather or flooded fields. Merchants don't just sell goods, they sell dreams. Silk smooth as a princess's skin, spices so fragrant you feel rich just sniffing. You can't afford them, but looking feels like stepping beyond your village's bamboo hedge. Then there's minstrels, wandering singers, storytellers, jugglers, or men dressed as hideous beasts demanding tips. Some sing of love, others of dragons. Some pose as prophets claiming 3 years from now gold will rain on this village, making everyone nearly sell their land to wait with buckets. Do you like them? Yes. Trust them? Number. But you give them stale bread because you need something to believe, to love, to feel less alone in this ash-scented, hopeless world.
Then there's another group, true outsiders, migrants, nomads, the landless, homeless. They belong nowhere, and everywhere suspects them. Villagers eye them with pity and fear because people without homes might have demons trailing them. They beg, work odd jobs, or just pass through. Kids are curious but steer clear. Adults whisper, don't let them near the coop. But deep down, everyone knows one bad harvest and you could be them. These passers-by, merchants, minstrels, vagrants, are a warped mirror of a world you can't touch but can't ignore. They remind you, beyond the well and church, there's a bigger world where people laugh differently, eat differently, suffer differently, and you start dreaming of leaving, wearing strange clothes, crossing lands where no one sows, hearing voices unlike your mother's lullabies, dreaming of being a passerby, to choose just once where to stop instead of being chained to where you were born. You'll likely stay hoeing fields, washing hands in mystery-smelling well water, but dreaming, as an old minstrel once said passing through. A man with no shoes can still imagine he's dancing. If you're not born a noble, with land and gold chains, or a peasant ploughing from dawn to dusk, congrats, you might be a townsman, a medieval urbanite. Sounds fancy, but you're just cramped, noisy, and smelling coal smoke every morning. Townsfolk are the middle tier, not rich enough to lounge, not poor enough to be forgotten. They're craftsmen, blacksmiths, shoemakers, tailors, carvers, potters, candle makers, metal casters, even fixers of other craftsmen's mistakes. You might be a shoemaker, day after day, hunched over leather, needle, thread, nails. No applause, no Instagram for #weekly shoe drop. Mess up and the wearer will curse you forever because their feet will hurt. Craftsmen live by skill and reputation. They pass trades from father to son or join a guild, medieval trade unions. Guild membership means status. You can hang a sign, certified craftsman, no scams. Guilds are like medieval mafias, ranks, fees, rules against undercutting colleagues, and price-fixing power. Sell too cheap. They invite you out of the trade stream. In short,
Crafting's a game, and the rules are written in forge fire and sweat. But no matter how skilled, gilded, or master you are, you're not noble. No embroidered silk, no dining with bishops, no ordering anyone but your apprentice. You're comfortable, but voiceless. The worst part, you know it. You live in town, near castles, see noble carriages pass, but never dream of riding one. You look at peasants toiling in sun.
Noble dishes use imported spices, pepper, cinnamon, cloves, names peasants think are magic spells. Cooking's elaborate, layered, sometimes gilded with gold leaf, to flex wealth. Fullness isn't the goal, presentation is. Nobles have personal knives, forks, though hands are still common. They're served courses, wash hands in rosewater pre-meal, and chew to soft music. Peasants break bread with dirt-caked hands and wipe mouths on sleeves, if the sleeve's long enough. But nobles don't always eat well. Some dishes, overspiced for hours, lose all flavour. Old wine hits with stomach aches before drunkenness. They eat anyway. Dining's a status display. For nobles, meals are theatre. Poets recite as dishes arrive. Musicians strum amid clinking cutlery. Entertainment includes clowns smearing pie on faces. Peasants, they eat watching chickens in the yard, wishing one would fall into the pot. Meals reflect rules. As a noble's guest, you don't eat faster than Don't touch the centerpiece. Don't ask, "What's this?" If you don't know, you're not worthy to eat it. But here's the kicker. Nobles and peasants alike risk food poisoning. No fridges, no safety standards. Any dish could be your last if the cook skips knife washing. Difference? Nobles die in castles, peasants in kitchens. Despite the hardship, meals pause suffering. Whether it's watery porridge or a roasted peacock, that first bite, chewed slowly, swallowed. You feel alive, still existing. And sometimes that's a privilege. If you're reading this in 1325, you're outshining most of the population. Education's a luxury, not from lack of schools, but because society doesn't think you need it. Most colonies, peasants to craftsmen, live illiterate, not from stupidity, but lack of opportunity. Reading and writing aren't on the survive to skill list. Fields don't need letters, forges don't need poetry, bread doesn't need printed recipes. Literates are mostly clergy, monks, some nobles. They study in monasteries where books, hand-copied on animal hearts, are crafted word by word, taking a year to finish, costing 3 fat cows. Language of learning, Latin, not the tongue villagers used to curse. Even if you eavesdrop on lessons, you're lost. Latin's the language of God, law, knowledge, and an invisible wall between learning and living. Village kids don't attend school, they go to fields. They learn counting by splitting terms, measuring by hugging straw bales. Gifted with words, if lucky, a monk might notice, trailing upon the scripture copy, still growing up at some field. Nobles, their kids get private tutors, learning to read, ride horses, play harps, pen flower with poems and simple poetry. They stay to read, to play games, show off. Education's a class ticket. Literacy means power, exciting world, complaints, soul of someone steps on the chicken. Society believes literally dangerous. They might dream, journey, question things more than they've been seen. Still, knowledge seeps through. Their tales, children, memories, folk songs passed from lands to lands. Lands, tell stories. Stories have been wrought, tie people to each other, keep past and faith. Maybe it's when it's naturally But you lived. Not just survived, truly lived. You loved. Without love letters or rings, but you held someone's hand by the fire. You laughed, maybe at a minstrel dropping props. You hoped for a less hungry season. You told stories with words, hands, scars on your back, leaving memories without pen or paper. You didn't make history, but you were its silent backbone. History names kings, generals, inventors, but you, the nameless, held the world upright. No one remembers your name, but centuries later, someone might imagine you, write your story, so others understand. Surviving then was a monumental victory. Now, leaving 1325, returning to modern life with Wi-Fi, clean water, and clothes not made of burlap, take a moment for them. Those who existed to be retold, not in books, but in earth, wind, hearth ash, and the wrinkles left in humanity's memory. If this journey was wild, weird, or just made you cherish your toilet more, hit that subscribe button. Each click is a loaf of bread for this channel's dinner, or at least a like to keep this video from sinking like a wrecked ship. Tell me in the comments, if you lived in 1325, who'd you be? Peasant, blacksmith, or a clown at a noble's wedding? As always, don't wander this world alone. See you in the next episode. We've got plenty more stories to tell.